Hi, how are you today? My name is Tobin, and I'm here in our beautiful studio at Remainders Creative Reuse. And today we are going to make a little latch hook project. Here's partially finished, the one that I've made as an example. I left some open so that I could show you how it's done, and you can get a couple of details on how to do it. If you've done latch hook before, then you probably have a good idea of how to do it. If you haven't, this will be a great introduction for you. And after the class, after you watch the class today, you can come back in a week after the class airs. You can come to the Zoom class that will be live, where we'll be showing off the things that we've made and answering questions that you might have about how it was made, or anything that you got stuck on. We'll be there to answer, and also we want to see what you made. I'm excited to see what people made. This was one of the first things that I've ever done with latch hooks, so even though I had a really cool latch hook rugs as a kid, I had a really cool one of a horse hanging on my wall when I was a kid, which I loved, and I've seen a lot of them. I had never really done it before, not to this extent, and so it was a fun project for me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of into it now. I think it's pretty cool. So let me show you again. This is what I made with it. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make an abstract design. So you're gonna have to design it yourself, but I'm here to help you with that. And what you wanna do is that what we'll supply to you is this sort of like this grid. We'll supply you a grid that's 12 by 16, and you can cut that in half if you want to make a smaller one, or if you want to, do the whole thing, that's fine too. I did the whole thing. And keep in mind that you want to keep about an inch or so from the edge, because you're going to fold it back and tape it down when you're done. So once you're completely finished, you're going to fold that back, and you can either glue it down, or you can use really strong tape just to tape that down so that it has a finished edge on all four sides. So that's why you don't go all the way to the edge, because you want something to fold over. And like I said, when you get the unused, brand new grid, you can cut it in half if you want to make something smaller. Or, the idea that one of my friends had was, if you start making something and you decide that it's big enough, you can just cut around it. It can be whatever size it is. So you're not stuck to any particular size. We give you a 12 by 16. You can use all of that if you want to, or not. It's completely up to you. And what you want to do first, well, I guess let me first introduce everything, and then we'll get into it. So let me do that first. So we've got our supplies. We've got a bunch of yarn, which we will supply to you with the class. You can use your own yarn if you want, if there are colors that we don't supply to you, or if you want specific colors, you can email or call the store when you pay for the class and say, these are the colors I want. I have this cool red that I used. I have this really gorgeous sort of like gray silver that has a little bit of sheen to it. I added some orange into my multicolored one because I didn't think it had enough orange, and I love orange. So I grabbed some orange, and then I used this, which is many different colors. It's a lot of colors, as you can see. It goes from green to blue to purple. And so that is something that I think is really cool about the middle of it. So let's talk a little bit about the design, and then we'll get into everything. So yeah, so we're going to do abstract design. So what I did with this is that I first used a Sharpie, and I drew some lines as if I was sort of going to make a rainbow almost. I just drew some lines onto there so that I would have something to go by. And then I decided with the colors of yarn that I had, which colors would go where. So you could even write on it if I had written red here, or green or gray here, or yellow here, so that I knew what colors to make and what colors to use. Because it was small, I was able to keep track of it pretty well, but you can write on it because you won't see it. It'll be covered by the yarn. So, all right, so this is a latch hook class, and it is inspired by the artist Faig Ahmed. But first, I need to tell you some other things. So our workshops here at Remainders Creative Reuse spotlight an invaluable yet underrepresented contribution of women and BIPOC artists from the last 2 centuries. We highlight the artist's work with examples, talk about their lives, and give a hands-on studio class directly inspired by their work. Showing how female and BIPOC artists have strong voices that continue to be integral to the institution of art. So like I said, today's class is inspired by Faig Ahmed. He is a fiber artist and he makes rugs, but he makes them in a way that looks as though they are melted or in some way glitched or changed from what you would expect. So he starts off in much of his work with sort of a very traditional looking rug that then he sort of makes look melted or stretched or in some way changed so that's not quite what you expect. So let me tell you a little bit about him. His name is Faig Ahmed, and his surreal sculptures incorporate ancient carpet weaving techniques from his native country of Azerbaijan into forms that anyone would identify as hyper-contemporary. His intricately patterned weavings are mounted on architectural structures, fabricated in wood or plastic. Sometimes the stark contrast between white form and traditional tapestry is startling enough on its own. Other times, Ahmed alters the patterns to suggest digital manipulation, like I said, the melting or the glitching, pixelation, and distortion. He has exhibited at prestigious art fairs and museums, including the Venice Biennale and the National Center of Contemporary Art in Moscow. So you can see some of the examples of his work while I was talking, and you can see how there's sort of a traditional look, but then it looks like something has happened to it as if it is melted, which obviously is not possible with yarn, but it's interesting the way he has made that look as though it's glitched or melted or something like that. And that's something that's really interesting about his work. Actually, I love looking at his work because of that. It's something that's extremely unexpected. It's nothing like what you would expect it to be at all, and yet he uses traditional sort of techniques and textiles to achieve those goals. So it's really interesting. So when we were thinking about how to highlight Faig Ahmed, we thought, well, a latch hook project would be really cool because latch hook is a textile like the textiles he uses in his work. And we thought it'd be fun to do just a really easy latch hook project that could be something that you could hang on the wall. So that's where this has come from, my example, which I think is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. I found it a little bit hard to learn the technique to latch hooking, so I'm going to show you that in detail. That's why I've left some spaces open on my example here. I did that on purpose so that you could see me do it up close and so that you would be able to master how to use the latch hook. And this is your hook. So you can see that it's a little plastic or wood handle with a metal hook on the end, and it has this little latch, which is why it's called a latch hook. And the latch can close or it can open, and so that's part of the way you're going to make the latch hooking technique. That's the way you're going to do it, is by using this tool. I also have some scissors that you'll need in order to cut your your yarn. And you'll need plenty of yarn in different colors, which we also will supply to you. I think we might supply it to you also already cut, but if not, you can cut it yourself. It's really easy. I'll show you how to do that too. It's not difficult at all. And I have a little batch of yarn here that I can use to fill in this little section that I left here to show you how to do it. So let's take another look. And then also I'm going to show you something you can do to make it look like a little softer and a little more interesting. So let's take another look at the example. So they make rugs out of latch hook, they make wall hangings, they make all sorts of things that you can do, especially because of the way this grid is that you're weaving things in and out of it. So you can mount it to something once you're done. Like I said, you also want to roll these edges back under and attach with really strong tape or glue. Probably I would use tape on this to make sure that that folds down so that it looks really nice when you're done and has a really nice even edge. So you'd be doing that to make sure that it's nice and finished and has a finished look. So, all right, so let's get into first cutting some of the strings so that we have something to work with. I think I'm gonna cut some red because I think it could use a little bit more red in here. So I've got these sort of bound up in this really poorly made holes, but you can use a nicer bunch of yarn that's already rolled together, or a ball of yarn like this is handy too. And I'm just gonna find an edge here. In fact, there it is. There are two edges. Let me find another one that I can maybe use, or I can make an edge. You know what, I'm just gonna make an edge. So let me get that done really quick. So what you want to do is you want to decide on how long you want your strips to be. So you can see here the gray ones are shorter, but the red ones are longer, and the I combined yellow and sort of a light pink together so you can see through there. Those are also short. So some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. I thought that would be a really cool look to sort of make some of them really long and some of them short. And the ones through here you can see are quite long. So you just want to measure with your hand to get the sizing. So for instance, the size you want is either going to be this length or half of it. So the way you do that is I string it into my hand and I hold it in place. So see, half of it's basically going down there, and I wrap it around and I wrap it around and I wrap it around and wrap it around. And I just keep going until I have several pieces, and then I cut. So you can see I've just wrapped it around my hand several times. I'm holding it in place. I'm holding this part in place because that's my last one. And I've just wrapped it around several times. Then you're going to use your scissors to actually make it into the strips. So I'm sliding the scissors along the edge of my hand, and I'm just going to cut the bottom. Missed one. Where did that go? So see, I cut the bottom, but I'm still holding it in place. And so now I need to cut the top so that I have my strips. So I just slide the scissors under there and cut the top. So now you see I've got my two strips are now all short little strips. They're actually longer than I need. If I want to make shorter strips, then you can cut them in half, or you can cut them in 3/4, like any way that any size that you want to make this, you can. So like these shorter ones are actually like cut in half. So you see now I've got these shorter ones. I've got two sets of the shorter ones that I can use to make shorter little lengths. And then these longer ones, we're not cutting it in half. Everybody get another good look at that? I think this is I really like this. I think it's pretty cool. Originally I had decided that I was gonna use the yellow and pink together with the red and the gray and just sort of make these rainbow stripes, sort of abstract rainbow stripes. Not using all the colors of the rainbow, obviously. But once I had gotten started, I thought, well, it would be really cool if there was a middle section that was just a bunch of different colors together, which is when I found this really cool ball of yarn, which has all those colors fading into one another. So it gives it just a little bit of an ombre look in parts of it, but mostly it just looks really cool, like it just, these are the very sort of formal sections, and then the middle is crazy. So it's like a crazy section. So I decided I wanted to do that, and I wanted them a little bit longer, which I've made them, so that I really like. So let's get started doing some latch hooking, and then before the class is over, I'm going to show you a little other technique that I use using this brush that is my dog's brush, actually. This is the brush that my dog loves, and every time I pick it up, he gets very excited because he loves being brushed. But when I picked it up the other day when I was making this sample, I had to say, sorry, Stony, this time we're using it on the latch hook rug, which he looked very upset about. Poor thing. So anyway, so let me show you how to do the actual latch hooking. Again, we've got our latch hook, which you can see has the little lever or the little latch that moves forward and back. That's what it's meant to do. And you've got the hook on the end. So as you can see, this little grid, see the little grid? It might be a little hard to see because it's yellow and it's sitting on yellow. Let me put this underneath it. There, now you can see this grid. See, this is where we're going to be hooking it under. So you start with the latch hook in this position, back in this position. See it? It's back. And you're going to hook it under the grid. So you're just going to hook it under one of the grid, and you can see that needs to stay back. I'm just holding it up, but you're going to hook it under the grid like this, and then you're going to slide it through until the little latch goes through it but stays open. And then you're going to, when we do it, you're already going to have a piece of yarn here that you're going to push forward and wrap around the latch as you pull it back out. So let me show you that again. So you have the latch back. You slip it underneath the first part of the grid, and you push it forward until the latch goes through, and you can hear it, it'll pop just a little bit. So you can see now the latch is through there. And then you're gonna have a piece of yarn here that you push forward and wrap around the latch. And then as you pull it back, see the latch closes and locks down the yarn, and you pull it back out. So let me show you with the yarn. So you can see I'm holding it in place. You hold it back here, you've halved it, you've wrapped it around here, and you've halved it. Remember, the latch is back, and I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna slip it under here, and push it forward until the latch goes underneath. Now I'm gonna pull the yarn forward and wrap it around the latch. Do you see how it's wrapped around the latch? And as I pull back, the latch closes and it pulls the yarn through. So that's how you do it. That's easy. It's as easy as can be, but it seems complicated. So let's go through it a few more times so you can see me doing it. So again, I've got my yarn wrapped around. Let me just show you how that's done. I take the yarn, I wrap it around the latch hook, and I hold it in place with a finger. I make sure the latch is open, and then I slip it under the grid and through one of the squares, and I push it forward until the latch goes through it. So see, now the latch is on the other side. And at this point, I want to pull my yarn forward and wrap it around the latch. And as I pull it back, you see that the latch closes, the yarn is inside the latch, and I pull it through. And then I end up with the latch open again as it comes through. So that's really what it's about, is making sure that the latch opens and closes, and that's how you pull your stuff through. Let me do it a couple more times, and then we'll back out a little bit. So I'm gonna take my yarn, hold it in place, slip it under. See, I've slipped it under here. Slide it forward till the latch comes through, and then slide my yarn forward and wrap it around the latch. And there you go, I pulled it through. So you can see. And what I do is I use it as a grid. You can see that I've gone along here. Actually, started over here. I go across until I finish. I did some of this because I wanted it to blend and look sort of like this blends into that a little bit. But essentially what you're doing is you're just going through and adding these by using your latches. So again, I'm wrapping it around. I'll start over here. Slide it under, push it through until the latch goes through, slide your yarn through and wrap it around the latch, and then pull it out. And as you pull it out, it closes the latch. See, the latch is closed. As you pull it out, it closes the latch and brings your yarn back through with it and attaches it. Let me show you a couple more times just to make sure you get it. And again, if you have any questions about this, you can bring those to the Zoom class that happens the week later. You can see I'm just bringing it through. But yeah, any questions that you have or any problems that you're having, just bring those questions to the Zoom class so that we can help you get this figured out. And also I want to see what you've made. I want to see what cool things you've made with your latch hook project. So let me show you a few more times just to make sure. You slip it under, push it through, and then bring your yarn forward and wrap it around the latch, and as it closes, it pulls it through for you. See it? It's a little bit fast, so let me show you again a little bit slower. And also I've got to decide on which yarns to use because I'm trying to make it look really random through here. So I've got to be choosy with my yarn. So I just did yellow, so I'm going to do red since I'm wearing yellow and red today. It's perfect. So again, see my latch is open. I'm holding my yarn in place at the back, and you slip the hook underneath and you push it forward until the latch goes through. So see, the latch is now through the other side. See, the latch is sitting here. So at this point, I push I push or pull, I guess, my yarn forward to the edge of the grid, and then I wrap it around the latch. And you see as the latch closes, and I pull it out, it pulls the yarn with it and sort of ties it in there. So see, it's just sort of tied. I forget what kind of knot they call that, but it's some sort of Boy Scout knot, tied knot, Boy Scout knot. I can't talk today. Let me show you a couple more times just so you can see how it's done. So again, your latch is open, holding the yarn in place, slip the hook under the grid, and slide it forward until the latch clears it. Sometimes the latch will pop forward if it's too tight. Just push it back into place if it does. Once you get the latch on the other side, slide forward with your yarn and wrap it around the latch. So see, it's literally wrapped around the latch. Now, once the latch closes on it, when you pull it back, you can let go because the latch has the fabric in place. So there, those two are done too. And so let me just do a couple of more just to make sure we've got it. So I've got my yarn at the end of my latch. I've got my latch open, sliding it underneath. See, it slides underneath. Pushing it forward until the latch clears, and then pulling your yarn forward, wrapping it around, and pulling it through. The more you do it, the easier it gets, but it's just a matter of making sure that you get that in there. So let me show you just one more time how that's done so you can make the latch. So I'm going to go back here so it's a little easier to see. So again, I've got my yarn, I'm holding my yarn with the back. I'm holding it back here, the latch is open on the latch hook. The latch is open, I take my hook and I slip it under so that it's just inside there. You see if I do that, it hooks on there. So now I want to push it all the way forward until the actual latch goes under that grid and pops. You can hear a pop usually. I don't know if you can hear it now, but I can hear a definite pop when it goes. So then I slide this forward to the edge. See, it's right at the edge of the grid, and I wrap it around the latch. And then as soon as the latch closes, you see I pulled it forward and the latch closed. Now I can let go because the latch has it. And you just pull it back through and it brings the fabric back through with it. So it's not hard to do at all. It just takes a little bit of practice. As you can see, I got plenty of practice doing this. And this took me a few days, so this might take you a little while. It's not necessarily a quick project unless you do something really fast and really small. Otherwise, it could be a little longer, but really it's a pretty quick and easy. I had music on in the background while I was doing this, which I thought was really great. It was really meditative. I enjoyed it very much. So as you can see, I am just going through and I'm just trying to finish these few rows that I left so I could show you. And I'm just I'm sort of keeping in mind what colors I've used in the row before, and you can see them obviously in this case. If you're using all one color, it's not that important. And you can do it from this angle where you're going under like this, or from this angle where you're going backwards. I have found it easy for me personally to do it from the side. So again, I'm taking my latch hook, I'm holding the yarn at one end, making sure the latch is open, I'm slipping it under and pushing it forward until it pops under, then wrapping around and bringing it back out. It's not difficult in any way. It can be a little confusing, I think, to get used to. Also, it took a little bit of time for me to get used to doing it, but now it seems really simple. You're literally just making a little sort of Boy Scout knot of some sort when you do this by just slipping it under, pushing the latch forward, bringing the yarn forward and wrapping it around the latch, and then pulling it out. That's all there is to it, is you're just pulling it out. And it should be pretty simple. And keep in mind, you're gonna make some sort of abstract shape. When you're designing your abstract shape, make it really easy. Don't make it something difficult. You know, like I said, I made this sort of half rainbow shape, which I found was really easy to do and something that's easy to follow. It's not something you wanna get confused by. That can be in another class when we do something a bit more advanced, you could do something more advanced, but I think for this first time, just do something really simple and easy, and it makes it more fun if you don't have to put a lot of thought into it. You can just focus on being creative and enjoying yourself, which is what I did here. So just pick an interesting design, draw on it with a Sharpie like I did with these lines. I just drew these lines. There are lines across all underneath here that you can't really see because now they're covered in yarn. You could make a wavy shape, you could make a half circle, you could make anything that's really simple. You could make a triangle with some lines going through it, just anything that'll give you an abstract design to start with. And if you want to just freehand it, you can do that too. You can freehand all you want. You don't have to draw the design first. You can start latch hooking with one color and do it until you feel comfortable moving to the next one, or anything like that that makes your design very free flow and free form and interesting and abstract. So the last thing I wanted to show you before we end is that I have my dog's brush, which I told you about, his little hairbrush that he loves, that we borrowed from him today. And the one thing that I think is kind of a cool look is, you can see I did it a little bit here on the edge, is that I brushed it and it actually makes it fray out a lot. So I'm using the side that has these little sort of, I don't know what to call them. They're little sort of nettles. I don't know. The little nettle side. And I'm just lightly brushing it. And you can see that like makes it fray. And if I do that on the gray, it does the same thing. It works really well on longer ones, obviously. But you see, I'm just sort of making it fray a little bit. Not only does it make it look a little bit more uniform, but it also, I think, is a little more interesting. So see, I'm going to do it here. Just lightly brushing it. I'm not giving it a lot of force, not doing a lot with it, just sort of helping it fray out a little bit so that it looks really cool. You see, that's looking really cool. I love it. I love that look. Some of it's fraying, some of it's not. It's just making it look really cool. And it'll make it look a little bit more uniform too. See, like if I go across the yellow and pink, it does the same thing. You can see where I've not done it and where I have done it. It makes it look really cool, I think. So just making it fray a little bit. If you have a brush like this, it's perfect. If you borrow your dog's brush, or if you have a brush like this, that's great. I obviously don't have a brush like this for myself for very specific reasons, but the dog brush is great for this. And hopefully, if your dog's like mine, he won't mind if you use it just a little bit to fray those edges and make it look really cool. So there, you can see that I just have gone in and frayed the edges a little bit, and it makes it look a little softer, a little fuzzier. See, I can do it here too, which I think is such a cool look. I really think it looks awesome this way. Just makes it look a little bit softer and a little bit more uniform. You can leave it the other way too. You don't have to do it. This was just an option. If you wanted to do it, you can see that makes it look a little bit softer, a little bit more abstract, I think, while also being a little bit more uniform, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these few rows. I'm going to let you go so you can start your wonderful latch hook project. And remember that in a week from when you watch this the first time, we'll have a live Zoom class where you can bring your creation and you can bring any questions that you have. If you're still not sure how to use the latch hook, bring those questions to the class. We'll answer them. We'll go through everything step by step, and we want to see what you made, and it'll be exciting to see what everyone made. We can share and see what's out there and see what other people made. It'll be really cool. And this should be easy to do. It shouldn't be a difficult project. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to figure out how to do this. It's meant to be really simple. And it's meant to be kind of relaxing and meditative in a way. So like I said, listen to some music while you do it. I put on a favorite TV show like on Netflix or on Pluto, and I just let that play in the background because it's a show. If it's a show that I really like, it's something I've seen a million times. It's just nice background. It's just something to help you sort of like relax into your time making your latch hook rug. So, okay, so I just want to let you know one more thing before we leave. This class and others like it here at Remainders Creative Reuse are made possible by a generous grant from the City of Pasadena Arts and Culture Commission, and we appreciate that so much. We also appreciate you. Coming to our classes, coming to the store, we can see the fun things you're doing, we can talk about the ideas you've had. I personally love doing that. I think it's exciting to have people come and tell us what they're looking for, and it's exciting for me also to dig through stuff and find new things to make things out of here at the store. So we appreciate you doing that. We appreciate all of it. And we'll see you next time. And we'll see you on the Zoom class. Thanks a lot. Bye.